Throughout history, human beings have faced times of extreme scarcity, where survival instincts override the usual boundaries of what is considered edible. In such moments, people have been forced to eat pets, yes, the very animals we often see as companions, like dogs and cats. This is not just something from dystopian fiction, but something that has actually occurred during some of the most desperate moments in history. Let's look at some real examples. During the siege of Leningrad in World War II, food was so scarce that citizens had to resort to consuming animals we typically view as pets. Cats and dogs, once beloved companions, became food sources for survival. The same happened during China's Great Famine between 1958 and 1962. Starvation was so severe that people ate anything they could find, including pets, to avoid dying of hunger. These historical examples give us insight into how crisis and desperation force people to break social norms, even ones we hold so dear, like treating pets as family. The difference between a companion and food quickly dissolves when faced with starvation. The topic of eating pets surfaced recently during the 2024 presidential debate when Donald Trump made a provocative claim that immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, were eating people's cats and dogs. Trump, without providing evidence, suggested that immigrants were resorting to this extreme measure due to their desperate conditions. The comment was shocking, and it ignited a social media firestorm with people ridiculing the statement. But while the claim was dismissed by officials and fact-checkers, who confirmed there were no credible reports of immigrants eating pets, it brings an eerie connection to what has actually happened during historic crises. It's essential to look at Trump's comment in context. His claim was part of a broader narrative often used to stoke fear about immigration, but it's interesting because it taps into a deep, primal fear. The fear that food scarcity could drive people to eat animals we otherwise wouldn't think of as food. But the reality is, historically, this has happened not just in isolated places or during random events, but in major cities, in times of war, famine, and collapse. To get back to the history of eating pets, medieval Europe also had instances where during famine, people had no choice but to eat their pets for survival. Similar reports exist from Ireland during the Great Potato Famine. People faced impossible choices. Do they starve, or do they eat the animals they once cared for? The same heartbreaking decisions were made during World War I and II, as well as during other global crises where the standard rules of human behavior became blurred. Interestingly, beyond just cats and dogs, many other unusual animals have found their way onto human menus when food was scarce. Swans and peacocks, for example, were considered delicacies among the elite in medieval Europe. These birds, now rarely thought of as food, were often served at feasts to demonstrate wealth and power. Meanwhile, rats, which we generally view as pests, were consumed in various crises throughout history, particularly during war or when cities were under siege. Take the case of the Siege of Paris in 1870, when the city was surrounded and cut off from supplies during the Franco-Prussian War. Parisians famously ate zoo animals, including elephants, giraffes, and, yes, pets, because there was no other food. Rats, dogs, cats, all became part of their desperate menu as the situation worsened. The fact that people ate such animals doesn't reflect a cultural shift towards suddenly considering them delicacies. It was survival, plain and simple. But it's always fascinating to see how in such moments of desperation, what becomes edible quickly expands to include creatures once considered untouchable. Which brings us back to Trump's comments. Though his statement has no basis in current reality, the notion of immigrants eating pets taps into those historical moments where survival dictated breaking down our usual ideas of what is food. While there is no evidence of this happening in Springfield, Oregon, anywhere else in modern America, Trump's comments ignite fear and play into survival instincts that humans have experienced throughout history. So, could this happen today in America? Could people be forced to eat pets due to food scarcity? While it seems far-fetched, the reality is that severe food insecurity does exist. Though far less common than in the past, pockets of food scarcity in the US remain, especially among the homeless and some immigrant communities. To prevent something like this from ever becoming a reality, strengthening social safety nets like food assistance programs and ensuring that everyone has access to basic necessities are key. The US government's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, plays a critical role in making sure people do not face extreme food insecurity. Expanding such programs, especially in vulnerable communities, can prevent people from falling into dire situations. Moreover, addressing the root causes of poverty and food insecurity, improving access to affordable food in underserved communities, and supporting immigrant populations through economic and social services would be vital. These measures ensure that people have the resources they need and are not driven to extreme behaviors like eating pets to survive. Finally, combating misinformation is crucial. Fear-mongering claims, like those made by Trump, feed into survivalist fears and can create unnecessary panic. Public education campaigns that focus on the importance of animal welfare, food security resources, and the humane treatment of pets are necessary to stop such narratives from gaining traction. So while Trump's comments might have sparked outrage and ridicule, they also remind us of the difficult choices humans have made throughout history in times of crisis. But today, we have the means to prevent such extreme scenarios from playing out in reality by ensuring people never have to make that heartbreaking choice between starvation and eating their pets. Let's make sure history doesn't repeat itself, and we continue working towards a future where everyone has enough to eat, and our pets remain our companions, not our food. If you enjoyed this discussion or found it thought-provoking, make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more deep dives into the fascinating, and sometimes strange, moments of history. Your support helps us continue bringing you content that uncovers the unexpected connections between past and present. Thanks for watching.